Mercado Libre stock is flying high off of a bombshell announcement on Wednesday. I'm going to cover that for you on this video. Before we do that, I want to give you an overview of what Mercado Libre, MELI, the Amazon of Latin America is even all about. Give you a high-level overview of the company. We're also going to look at the fundamentals of the company in terms of valuation, and I'm going to look at a chart later to show you where I think the stock could be headed. Is Mercado Libre stock a buy now? Let's dig into it. So what does Mercado Libre even do? What's MELI do? They're the largest online, e-commerce and payments, digital payments ecosystem in Latin America. And I'm going to talk later about all the countries they're in. There's 18 different countries. There are several segments of Mercado Libre. It's very diversified and probably more diversified than you might think. It's not just about e-commerce and digital payments. There's much, much more. So countries include Argentina, Brazil, Mexico. I'm going to show you a whole list here in a second. So through their e-commerce platform and related services, they provide users with robust online commerce and payments tools that not only contribute to the development of a large and growing e-commerce community in Latin America, a region with a population of 650 million people. We're going to talk about some of those demographics here in a little bit. Also has one of the fastest growing internet penetration rates in the world, and we're going to look at some of that data as well. So here are all 18 of the countries that Mercado Libre is focused on right now, and you can see the list. I'm not going to read it to you. It's mostly going to be Central America, South America, so Latin America. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the Caribbean as well, and that's something that could actually expand their growth possibilities in the future. You'll notice that Portugal is also on there as well. Of course, that's not in Latin America, so they have expanded outside of that area a little bit already. So here's the flywheel that breaks down the company for you. So you got Mercado Libre, that's e-commerce marketplace. Sellers pay commissions for transactions. You've got Mercado Shops in the red there. Now that's SaaS stores and ERP. So think of Shopify, very similar to that model. Then in the light blue on the right, they've got their fintech solutions. On the bottom right, they've got advertising solutions. So you think of Amazon, a lot of people call it the Amazon of Latin America, but the reality is they don't have cloud services. But one of the big cash cows for Amazon is now advertising solutions, and that's a big part of MELI's business as well. And there's a lot of opportunity for growth. They also have credit, so credit solutions and loans. They also have the logistics solutions, which enables sellers to provide seamless delivery through third-party carriers. So this is the entire flywheel of the business. So as an investor, we want to understand the growth possibilities for the company. So we can look at macro data and demographics. If you look at the internet usage growth, this is worldwide 2018 to projected 2023, you can see a nice steady trend upwards. Now this is in billions, and you can see 2022 had 5 billion. We expect 5.3 billion in 2023. Next, we got to break it down by regions and go a little bit more granular. And you can see this is broken down by all the different regions of the world, Asia, Europe, and so on. In the middle, you have Latin America and Caribbean. Now look at the very bottom. This is the most recent data we have. This is June of 2022. You can see 543.39. This is in millions, and you can see it steadily grown over the years. Then let's go a little bit deeper, and let's look at e-commerce and digital advertising. That's a big part of MELI's business, and the growth in Latin America. Now that's going to outpace worldwide growth in 2023. So if you look at the left side here, worldwide, retail e-commerce sales, 10.4%. Digital ad spending is 10.5%. That's worldwide. Now if you look at the Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico numbers, those are much higher. You can see that Brazil is 17%. That's where one of the largest portions of Mercado Libre's business is. They're growing more in Mexico. We'll talk about that later. You can see the digital ad spending is also much higher. Argentina is 19.2%. And these are very important countries for MELI's business. I want to pop back in here, guys. I got done with the recording and realized I forgot to mention this. I think it's really critical. When you think of internet usage, especially in rural areas, things like Starlink and Amazon Kuiper, when you think of low orbit satellites, that is going to exponentially increase the ability to expand the internet. And that's just in its infancy. So think about that too. When you think of a 5 and 10 year holding, more and more people around the globe are going to have access to the internet, especially with low orbit satellites. So next we want to make sure that the people in those countries are making money. So when you look at the GDP forecast, it's pretty good. Peru's 4.6%, Mexico 4%, Colombia 3.8%, and so on. Brazil's at 1.5%, a little bit lower. But the average here for Latin America America is 3%. This is for 2022 forecast. And you'll notice here it says Latin America economies in the middle class trap. Now, why is that important necessarily? You think of middle class, that's generally the majority of who are gonna buy online. And what you're seeing in countries like Mexico, for example, is explosive growth in the middle class, going from poverty to middle class and more money to spend. So this next figure here is gonna be middle class versus GDP per capita in Latin America and the Caribbean. So break it down again more granularly as an investor and see what we're dealing with here for growth. Okay, this is from the World Bank. And you can see that countries like Chile and Argentina, Mexico, really good numbers, really good growth. And you look at the middle class versus GDP, pretty solid numbers. And that's gonna benefit a company like MercadoLibre. You can see Brazil in the middle there, it's 50% middle class. Now, I think that all the countries that MELI are focused on, there's room for growth. But one of the exciting countries for me is gonna be Mexico. Their middle class continues to grow and the Mexican economy is continuously improving. And so if I look at yearly household income by social class, this is just for Mexico, you can see the middle class there and you can see the upper class. So more and more money going from very high poverty, more into moderate poverty, middle class, and even upper class, more disposable income to spend online and elsewhere. This is retail sales strength for Mexico. And you can see that it obviously dipped down during the pandemic, but you can see that it's actually back to all-time highs here in 2022, and it's expected to continue. Now, we could see recessionary environments, maybe a global recession, maybe that dips down a little bit more, but the trend is upwards over time, a secular growth trend. Another thing that's exciting about Mexico is logistically, it's very hard. There's very rural areas of Mexico, and it's very hard for a competitor to come into Mexico and be successful. Amazon's had struggles in the past, and you can see, for example, here, C Limited. They're based in Singapore, and they exited Argentina, shut down operations in Chile, Colombia, and Mexico. Also, their gaming unit laid off staff. But for the e-commerce section, they completely shut down operations in places like Mexico. And I think that's part of the reason. It's really hard for competition. So when you think of barriers of entry, it's a little bit harder for some of these countries because of the rural demographics. And once you have that ecosystem, that infrastructure built, the logistics built, it's much simpler to be successful for MELI. So it creates a bit of a moat. Now, before I go on, I want you to please subscribe and click that bell to get notifications. We are going to do a lot more videos this year in 2023. If you're subscribed and you click that bell to get notifications, as soon as I drop a new video, you're going to get an email, you're going to get an alert, and you can go check it out. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Let's get this channel over 40,000 subscribers in 2023. That's my goal. Now, next is the bombshell announcement. And you're gonna wanna see this because this is big and this is why the stock is up, last time I checked, over 6%. Now, when you think specifically about Brazil, which is one of their major markets, 26.3 billion, and this data is a little bit old, but the market share is relatively the same. MercadoLibre market share in the country of Brazil is 27%. Now, Americanas is 21%. Why do you care? Well, this is from growth to value, and he's a great follow on Twitter. Make sure to give him a follow. You can also follow at Fired Up Wealth if you're on Twitter. He posted this yesterday, and this is what brought it to my attention. So Americanas is MELI's biggest competitor in Brazil. Latest market share, the same numbers I just showed you, 27% for MELI, 21% for Americanas. There are accounting irregularities at Americanas for more than $3.9 billion in US. The CEO and CFO have already resigned. MELI was up 7% last night after hours. And here's the clip. So Brazilian retailer Americanas said on Wednesday the chief executive and chief financial officer resigned after discovery of around 20 billion in their local currency, which is $3.88 billion, rounded to $3.9 billion in US, accounting inconsistencies. This is a big red flag. So their biggest competitor in Brazil, they could have some issues here, and that's a huge opportunity and advantage for MercadoLibre to capitalize on. Now, this is the money slide right here. MercadoLibre retail e-commerce sales in Latin America 2017 to projected 2023. This is billions, percentage of change, and percentage of Latin America retail e-commerce sales. Look at the growth from 2017 to 2023. In billions of dollars, from 11.75 in 2017, in just 6 years, it's almost a 4x at 41.55 billion. And year over year from 2022, up from 34.87 billion. So the stock trades for a premium, but because there's so much excitement about these opportunities for growth, I'm gonna look next at valuation, just a quick overview of where the stock's trading, the PE ratio, things like that. Then I'm gonna look at a chart and I'm gonna show you where I think the stock could go. Now, before I go on, guys, I need to announce this video is sponsored by the Motley Fool. If you'd like to see the 10 best stocks to buy now, Visit fool.com/firedupwealth. A reminder, they don't tell me what videos to make, what to create, what to tell you guys. They're a great partner. They allow me to bring more content like this for free to you on YouTube, so check those guys out. We also have a private community. It's patreon.com, including a Discord. I'll talk more about that later. I'm not gonna cover much detail in the interest of time, and you can go check this out on Investor Relations. This is their third quarter 2022. This is their earnings. I just wanted to show you the growth and how explosive it is in certain areas. So we broke down the different segments of the business earlier, and you can see this in the different colors. But you look at this, 122%, 76%, plus 550 basis points or 91%. They're doing very, very well. The earnings have been very strong. There's always going to be risk with a company like this because we might not understand it quite as well. There's geopolitical risk, there's inflation risk, there's all kinds of different things to worry about when you think of Latin America, especially if you're a US citizen, don't live there, don't get to see all the events that are happening every day. So there is definitely risk with this company, but I just want to show you that they are proving themselves to continuously grow. This stock has been a monster over the years. Let's look at valuation, then a chart. So the stock just broke $1,000 as I logged on here. It's up 6.8%. Now the PE ratio is 187 and it is expensive. And I know people again like to compare it to Amazon, but it doesn't have the cloud services part of the business and it's not recurring revenue. And it is a lower margin business. So you have to keep that in mind. But I do like this company. I'm bullish on this company. I own the stock. You look at the 52-week high, $1,275. And at one point it is even higher than that. 52-week low, $600. That's a pretty good opportunity. You're up 40% if you bought it at $600. Market cap, $50.16 billion. It's getting attractive even though the valuation is a little bit higher. That market cap, when you look at the opportunity in the TAM, $50 billion is still attractive for a long-term investor, in my opinion. So next we'll look at a chart. And when you look at these charts, we do chart day every single Wednesday in Patreon Discord. And again, you can check that out, patreon.com/firedupwealth. We go through 20 tickers picked by the group. Anytime you see orange on these charts on Fired Up Wealth, it's gonna mean that it was a previous chart day. Anything in yellow is today's information. You're not gonna see yellow on your screen today because I'm gonna present the information to you verbally and I'm not writing it down. So you can see here that the stock ran up to $1,000 from $754. So it was $754 in October. In a month, basically, it ran all the way over $1,000, and now it's retesting that $1,000 level again. It pulled back from that $1,039 high here November 15th, pulled down to about $818. And back here, I said I like the stock, especially in the 700s. 750 is a good number to shoot for. Most recently, I said, be careful chasing it at $1,000. Wait for the $800 range. It got to $818. I was hoping for it to even go a little bit lower last time, and it didn't get there. And now it's ran really hard again, going on 20%. So you can see this arrow, boom, this is a really bullish green candle here. And it's got resistance around $1,000. The R3, this is a Fibonacci resistance R3, that's at $1,013. So for me personally, I like this stock long-term. I think you had plenty of opportunity to add this stock, especially last year. Got all the way down to $600 here in June. But you can see that it's done this several times. $600, boom, $1,095, pulls back to $800, goes to $1,000. It kind of plays between that $800 to $1,000 range. So the question this time, is it going to be able to consolidate here and break past that R3 and get to maybe $1,100? I think there's a good chance of that. If you're a long-term investor, not a bad stock if you're owning it 5+ years. Do I want to buy it today myself at $1,000 a share? I personally don't because I've been buying it at lower levels, but you have to make that decision for yourself. Hope this video is helpful, guys. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell to get notifications, drop a like, drop a comment. It helps me out a lot. I appreciate you very much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.